knows it. Comes over soon.
Today we're going to talk to you about 10 interesting facts that you didn't know about the 1920s. And we're going to go deep into the discoveries of what happened and what people didn't know about it. We're going to interview experts and just find out what they know.
Hello, sir. Can I ask you a couple questions?
Yeah.
Do you know when bubble gum was invented?
I believe it was invented in 1886.
Okay. Do you know what was the name of the first bubble gum?
First probably Georgian.
And do you know what it was used for?
To chew on?
I just want to ask you a couple questions. Do you have any idea when condoms switched to latex?
1950. I don't know.
1930.
What do you think condoms were used for?
Safe.
Safe
Yeah,
sex.
safe.
And you know who made them?
Trojan.
Do you know what country came up with them first? What country?
Spain. For sure not America.
Interviewing this Thomas, who is,
An expert on Mickey Mouse.
and I just want to ask you a couple questions.
Okay.
Do you know when Mickey Mouse was first created?
Yes, there was a test screening, May 15th, 1928. That was when he was first created. But his first movie was in November 8th, 1928. And it was a 7-minute film that it was called Steamboat Willie. It was the first time they combined animation and synchronized sound.
And was Mickey Mouse created by Walt Disney?
Actually, Mickey Mouse I forgot the answer.
I know.
Him, Mickey Mouse, but he got the idea from his partner, Oob Iwerks, after Walt Disney's other character, Oswald Rabbit, was unsuccessful. And then Oob drew Oob was the animator who did all the movie shorts until he quit the partnership.
Lindbergh was the first to fly across the transatlantic. Charles Augustus Lindbergh, Jr., 20-month-old son of the famous aviator Admiral Lindbergh, was kidnapped at about 9 o'clock in the evening of that day. There was a $50,000 ransom that was found. The baby was abducted from the family home in East Hopewell, New Jersey. On the evening of March the 1st, 2 months later, the baby's body was found and discovered a short distance from the house of Lindbergh in Hopewell. After an investigation, that lasted about more than 2 years. Bruno Hartman was arrested for federal kidnapping. You guys get that? All right.
Can I answer the questions?
But anyway, go ahead. Who kidnapped the Lindbergh baby? Kind of mentioned it a minute ago. It was Bruno Hartman. I mentioned in the paragraph earlier. Where was the baby found? Where was the baby shot? In the head. How long was he missing for? For about 20 months, during the whole ordeal. It says 20, but it's not 20. I can correct this action. It was only 2 months. That is pretty much a very condensed version of Charles Lindbergh and their family.
How old was he?
2 months. Baby was 2 months.
Is it?
Oh, you guys have been wonderful. Thank you so much. And you all continue to research all these many historical moments that are here at the school.
And that was our expert on Charles Lindbergh.
I just want to ask you, since you're a bubblegum expert. When was bubblegum first invented?
Bubblegum was first invented in 1928 by Walter E. Damer.
What was the name of the first bubblegum?
The first name of the bubblegum was Chico.
What was Chico used for?
It was at first used for a rubber substitute. Interesting fact though, Damer used a pink dye for his new gum because pink was the only color available at the Cleary Chewing Gum Company. To test his new recipe, Damer took the samples of his new bubblegum over to a local store and it sold out in a single day.
Everyone, I'm Justin Mendoza, and next to me, I have our expert, Mr. Williams. So, sir, I'm going to ask you a couple of questions. When was the first insulin tested?
The first insulin was tested in 1922 in Toronto, Canada.
Do you know on whom?
It was tested on a 14-year-old boy who was dying in Toronto General Hospital. His name was Leonard Thompson.
Did the child have any reaction?
Well, initially he had a very severe allergic reaction to the shot. However, so because of that, his first batch that they did of insulin, they had to go back and redo the project and kind of make it a better product. By the time the second batch was made, he didn't have the allergic reaction and it actually helped do it with diabetes. And that's the insulin that we use. Thank you.
I'm Justin Mendoza, and right here I have Mr. A.W. White. Thank you, sir.
Glad to meet you.
I'm just going to ask you a couple of questions and I just want you to answer. If you
Okay.
know.
Okay, I'll do what I can.
Alright, first question. Which car had the first radio?
It was the Model T. It was invented by an 18-year-old George Frost. I believe his name was Frost. Okay.
Next question. Question number 2. Where was the radio located?
It was on the passenger side.
Passenger side of the door? Of the door?
On the door, on the passenger side of the door, that's right, yeah.
Question number 3.
Okay.
How many cars had a car radio?
At some point, at one point, there was like 100,000 cars that had a radio on the passenger door. And the first radio was used in cars were battery operated. They were domestic sets that were usually placed on the car's back seat and typically used at picnic spots. Later on, more rugged versions started to appear, which were built in weatherproof steel boxes that were put inside the car. And in 1922, car radios were created and put in the passenger door of the Model T at that time.
Alright.
Okay?
Alright, thank you, sir.
You're welcome. All right, good luck.
Mr. Mendoza, and I have right here Coach Velasquez.
Howdy.
Alright, so I'm going to ask you a couple of questions. I just want you to answer.
Sure.
When was the first peace treaty with Germany signed?
If I can remember correctly, I think it was August 25th, 1921. Is that right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Question number 2. What president signed the treaty with Germany?
Oh, that's my homie, Woodrow Wilson.
Really?
Yeah, Woodrow Wilson. I know that guy.
When was okay, question number 3. When was a joint resolution approved by the president?
I don't know. I think it was July 2nd, 1921.
Oh, yeah.
Was that it?
Yeah. Alright. And then, just, where was the treaty followed?
The treaty was followed in the early, I'm sorry, what were you asking me?
When was the treaty followed?
Oh, okay, this treaty was followed, the earlier Treaty of Versailles, signed by the Allies of Germany in 1919, and which was not ratified by the U.S. Congress, considering that they entered into the armistice, right? Is that correct?
Yes.
With Germany on November 1918, on the day of the 11th. Alright, and then considering that the Treaty of Versailles was signed June 28, 1919, came into force according to the terms of the Article 440 but has not been ratified by the United States. Is that,
Yeah,
is that good?
it's a good answer. Thank you, sir.
Yes, I appreciate it. Thank you for your time.
Justin Mendoza, and I have right here Coach Kellner. So I'm just going to ask you a couple of questions, and I want you to answer.
Okay.
All right, question number one. When did the Yankees issue a press release announcement of the purchase of 10 acres?
It was on February 6th of 1921. It was only a year after the Yankees purchased the contract of Babe Ruth from the Boston Red Sox. And that was kind of a date that would change baseball forever. The Yankees issued that press release on February 6th, 1921, like I said, where they were going to purchase 10 acres of property in the West Bronx. And later on, the Yankees would become known as the Bronx Bombers because of that. They purchased the land from the estate of William Waldorf Astor. He was part of the, it was land of his that was right across from the Harlem River, kind of near the Polo Grounds, which the Yankees were using at their stadium at the time.
Question number two. How much was the land purchased for?
It was purchased for $675,000.
Question number three. Who was the construction contract awarded to?
The construction contract was awarded to New York's White Construction Company, and it was awarded to them on May 5th of 1922. But they had to complete it at a definite price of $2.5 million, and by opening day of 1923. So they had about a year to do it and only $2.5 million to do it with. And it was accomplished. It was only 284 days. It was built in only 284 days.
Thank you, sir. That was all the questions that we had for today.
Thank you.
Mendoza, and I have right here Mr. Smith. How you doing, Mr. Smith?
Doing pretty good.
I'm going to ask you a couple of questions and just try to answer them.
Okay. Will do.
Question number one. What was the most famous talking movie in the 1920s?
I believe it was the Jazzman, right?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Question number two. What were silent movies accomplished by?
I believe it is like a live piano or organ music.
Question number three. What year did a commercially distributed film contain as Skyner Cross soundtrack?
Oh, a syndicated soundtrack?
Yes, yes.
And well, in 1923, the 1920s was largely dominated by silent films, but some saw the introduction of synchronized sound. In 1920s, most stars were really stars with huge salaries. The fashions and the activities of the Hollywood greats echoed around the world, and 100,000 people would gather in London and even in Moscow to greet Mary Pickford and Douglas Fairbanks on their triumphal tours of Europe. The early silent movies, often accompanied by live piano or organ music, have provided enormous entertainment value to audiences everywhere. Although various attempts have been made to introduce sound, it wasn't until 1923 that a commercially distributed film contained a synchronized soundtrack that was photographically recorded and printed on the side of a strip of motion picture film. It would still be seen years before talking pictures gained supremacy and finally replaced the silent era. The production of The Jazz Singer in 1927 did much to change the industry's perception of talking pictures. Technology had advanced a little in previous 5 years, but the production was the first feature-length talking picture to feature a star singer and actor, Al Jolson, speaking and singing on screen. The huge demand for The Jazz Singer was unexpected and caused some studios to begin to produce sound films of their own to capitalize on what, at that time, they saw as a fad.
Thank you, sir.
Oh, no problem. No problem. Have a good day.
And this is
Ms. Maldonado.
a Winnie the Pooh expert. And we just want to ask you a couple questions. Like, do you know where A.A. Milne got inspiration for Winnie the Pooh?
Well, I did some research on A.A. Milne, who is actually Alan Alexander Milne, and he was inspired to write the story Winnie the Pooh based on his his real-life son, Christopher Robin, who was born in 1920. So when he wrote the story on October the 14th, 1926, his son Christopher Robin was 6 years old.
Okay. I was gonna ask you, where did A.A. Money get the name Christopher Robin? But you said that's the name of his son.
Yeah, but also he got the story for Winnie the Pooh because when Christopher Robin was little, he had a stuffed animal and he called it Winnie Peg, and so that inspired A.A. Milne to title his story Winnie the Pooh. And as a matter of fact, I mean that 1926 to now is, I mean it's been a long time since Winnie the Pooh has been in our lives, and recently one of my kids gave me this. She graduated, 07, and it's what Christopher Robin said to Pooh in the original story, and he said, "Promise me you'll always remember you're braver than you believe, and stronger than you seem, and smarter than you think." So I guess that remains true to what we do now. Right, John?
Yes, ma'am.
Hi, my name is Justin Mendoza, and I have right next to me Miss Sissy Allen.
Yes.
I'm going to ask you a couple of questions.
Okay.
So that you can answer. Question number 1. Why were condoms so unreliable in the 1920s?
Well, a lot of the condoms in the 1920s either had holes in them, or they broke, or they fell off.
Okay. Question number 2. What were condoms made of back in the 1920s?
Well, what they would do is they would take rubber and wrap it around the form of a penis, and then they would put some kind of glue on it so that it would stick together, and then they would take it off of the form.
Question number 3. Why were condoms used in the 1920s?
There was an overpopulation, and the people who didn't have a lot of money, the poor, they didn't want to have children, or they couldn't afford to have children anymore. So they used condoms because there wasn't really any other form of birth control.
Well, that wraps up everything. Justin Mendoza, Mrs. Allen.
Good question.
So
where's my trash can?
It's right there. It was right there.
Where's my trash can right there?
Okay. Nice, Mr. Connor.
Number 7's on the floor.
Justin Mendoza, and I have right here Mr. Smith. How are you doing, Mr. Smith?
Doing pretty good. How are you?
I was going to ask you a couple of questions. I just want you to answer it top of your head.
Okay, sounds good.
What was the most famous talkie movie in the 1920s?
I believe it was the Jazzman, right?
Bro.
Yes. Hi, Mendoza, and I have right here Coach Conner.
Hi.
Sir. I'm going to ask you a couple of questions, and I want you to answer, see if you know.
Okay.
All right. Question number 1.
Mm-hmm.
When did the Yankees issue a press release announcement of the purchase of 10 acres?
That was on February 6th of 1921 when they issued the press release. They bought 10 acres of land in the West Bronx.
How much was the land purchased for?
It was purchased for only $657,000.
Question number 3. Who was the construction contract awarded to?
It was New York's White Construction Company that started the construction of Yankee Stadium on May 5th of 1922. The construction contract, we got
Justin Mendoza, right next to you is Mr. William Ziller. Okay, cut. Cut was created by Walt Disney.
Yes, Walt Disney did create Mickey Mouse, but he got the idea from his partner, Ub Iwerks. After Walt Disney's other character, Oswald Rabbit, was unsuccessful. Ub drew the Mickey shorts until he quit the partnership. Are y'all already filming?
I've been recording TBH.
Bro.
Why are you yelling? Every time you yell at him, you look at me suspiciously.
Just to the side. You gotta put it straight.
He looks like he's looking.
Oh,
got my finger?
No. I'm recording already.
Restart.
Hi, I'm Justin Mendoza, and right here, right next to me is Mr. William Ziller. And he's going to be our expert today. So, sir,
Yes, Justin.
when was the first insulin tested?
The first insulin was actually tested in 1922 in Toronto, Canada. It was tested on a 14-year-old boy who was dying in Toronto General Hospital. His name was Leonard. Any other questions?
Did the child have any reactions?
Bro, are you serious?
Oh, Steven! We gotta start over.
Him, Mickey Mouse, but we got the idea from his partner in the pilots. After Walt Disney's other character, Oswald Rabbit, was unsuccessful. And then Oob drew.
These shorts.
Oob drew most of, no. Oob was the animator who did all the Mickey shorts and Tony put the partnership.
So say it all together now.
You're stressing me, Tom. Okay, here we go. Let's do it. I got it. Let's go. Are you already filming?
I've been recording TBH.
Film us right there.
Bloopers.
Alright, let's roll.
Okay, the buzzer.
Mendoza, and I'm Tom Garcia. And today we're going to talk to you about 10 interesting facts that you didn't know.
Bye.